The jungle was silent that night, too silent as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. The moonlight fell in broken silver lines across the forest floor, and the wind carried only the faint rustle of leaves. Everyone in the nearby village knew the rule: never go near the forbidden cave. The elders whispered of curses, of shadows that swallowed men whole, and of spirits that never let intruders come back alive. For years no one dared to enter, but tonight was different. Daniel, a human traveler who had been passing through the alien lands, heard something that froze his steps. A sound soft at first, almost hidden beneath the rustle of branches. It was the cry of a child. High-pitched, broken, desperate. He stopped, heart thudding, his ears straining in the night air. It came again, clearer now, echoing faintly from the direction of the cave. The villagers behind him gasped when they noticed he had stopped. One older alien woman shook her head fiercely. "Do not follow it," she hissed in broken human tongue. "It is trick." Cave calling voices. "You go in, you never come out." But Daniel's eyes narrowed. There was no mistaking that sound. That was not a trick. That was the cry of a child, trembling, raw, filled with fear. He had heard it too many times during his journeys across war-torn lands, in refugee camps, in burned villages. He knew the difference between an echo and the real pain of a young voice. Still, his steps hesitated. The villagers' words clung to him. He could feel their fear pressing against his back, urging him to stay. The air seemed colder now, heavy with an unseen weight. The entrance of the cave loomed ahead like a black mouth swallowing the moonlight. "Human," another alien man warned, gripping his arm. "Many before go in, none come back." Child voices curse. "Leave it." Daniel looked at the man's trembling hands and then back at the cave. And if it isn't a curse? What if it's a real child left alone inside? The man's eyes flickered, but he said nothing. Fear had tied his tongue. Daniel took a slow breath. Every instinct screamed that this was dangerous, maybe even suicidal. But another voice, the one that had guided him through countless dangers, whispered louder. "If it is a child and you walk away, then you let them die." So he stepped forward. The crowd gasped. Some even stepped back as if his courage or his madness would bring doom upon them all. But Daniel did not look back. His boots pressed into the damp earth, each step louder than the last in the silence of the jungle. The cries grew clearer, pulling him closer. They were filled with such pain it cut into his chest like a knife. At the mouth of the cave, Daniel paused. The air that drifted out was cold and damp, smelling of stone and something older, something that did not belong in the world outside. Shadows moved strangely along the jagged walls as though alive. He placed his hand on the rough rock, steadying himself, and then stepped inside. The cave swallowed the light instantly. Darkness wrapped around him like a heavy cloak. He pulled a small glow stick from his belt, snapping it to life. Pale green light spilled across the floor, revealing uneven stones and strange markings carved into the walls. Symbols he could not read, but they pulsed faintly as if alive. The cries echoed again, closer now, bouncing off the stone walls in ways that made it impossible to tell where they came from. Sometimes ahead, sometimes behind. It was disorienting, but Daniel pressed forward, his jaw tight. "Hello?" he called softly, his voice steady but low. "I hear you." "Don't be afraid. I'm coming." For a moment only silence answered him. Then a sudden sob. Definitely a child. Definitely real. The cave twisted and narrowed, forcing him to squeeze through tight passages. His light flickered across strange bones half buried in the stone, old and crumbling, too many to count. His stomach tightened, but he didn't stop. Finally, in the distance, he saw it, a small figure hunched in the shadows. Tiny shoulders shaking, head buried in arms. An alien child. Her skin shimmered faintly in the green light, pale and marked with thin glowing lines like veins of crystal. She looked fragile, almost too fragile to be real. "Hey," Daniel whispered gently, kneeling down a few feet away. "It's okay. I'm here now. You're safe." The child's head lifted slowly. Her eyes glowed faintly, filled with tears. She looked at him for only a heartbeat, then her form flickered like smoke caught in the wind and vanished. Daniel froze, breath caught in his throat. The place where she had sat was empty. Only the sound of her sobbing remained, echoing deeper into the cave. A chill ran down his spine. He turned sharply, his light shaking in his hand. The cave walls shifted with the shadows, and for a moment, he thought he saw a massive figure moving in the darkness. Something tall, broad, watching. The child's voice called again, this time from much further inside. Daniel clenched his fists, forcing the fear down. His choice was already made. No matter what this cave was, no matter what tricks it played, he could not leave. Not while a child's cry still echoed within. And so he stepped deeper into the forbidden cave, unaware that the entrance behind him had begun to seal itself with falling stone. Daniel moved deeper into the cave, his glow stick trembling faintly in his hand. The air grew colder with every step, thick with moisture that clung to his skin. The sound of the crying child still echoed through the chambers, sometimes ahead, sometimes behind, sometimes above him, as if the cave itself was playing tricks on his ears. He paused, breathing slowly. The walls around him glistened with strange wetness, and glowing symbols pulsed faintly, like veins of light running through the rock. They weren't random carvings, no, they seemed alive, shifting when he wasn't looking directly at them. Daniel whispered to himself, "What is this place?" The cries returned, this time sharper, filled with panic. He quickened his pace, weaving through narrow passages. The further he went, the more the cave felt like a living creature, its tunnels curling and bending like the ribs of some giant beast. His boots splashed against shallow puddles, the sound too loud in the silence. Then he heard something else. A voice, not the child's voice this time. It was low, broken, almost like a whisper crawling along the stone. It didn't speak in words he understood, but he felt it in his bones. A warning, a growl, a command to turn back. Daniel froze, lifting the glow stick high. The shadows stretched strangely across the walls, forming shapes that didn't belong. Faces, claws, twisted figures. His chest tightened, but he shook his head. "No," he muttered, more to himself than to the cave. "If a child is in here, I'm not leaving." The whisper deepened, echoing louder until it became a roar that rattled the stones under his feet. Dust fell from the ceiling, and Daniel stumbled back. His glow stick flickered. For a moment he thought it would go out completely. But then, silence again. A faint sob pulled him onward. He followed, his breath quick, every muscle ready to run yet forcing himself to move deeper. He turned a corner and suddenly gasped. The passage opened into a wide chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness. Stalagmites jutted up from the floor like teeth, and in the middle of the chamber, a faint blue glow hovered. He stepped closer, careful not to make noise. The glow shaped itself into the form of the alien child again. She was curled on the ground, small hands covering her face, her shoulders trembling as she cried. "Hey," Daniel called gently, trying not to scare her. "It's me again. I came to help." She didn't move. The cries kept spilling from her lips, soft but piercing. Daniel took a slow step forward, then another, but when he reached out, the air around her rippled. The glow twisted violently, and then she vanished again, dissolving into blue smoke. "No," Daniel whispered. His hand hung uselessly in the air. A whisper answered him, this time clear. "Leave." The word shook him to the core. It was not in English, not in any alien language he knew, but somehow he understood it. The sound crawled through his skull, heavy, suffocating. His knees bent slightly under the weight of it. "Leave," it said again, louder now, booming across the chamber. The walls vibrated with the force. Daniel clenched his fists. "Not without her." His voice echoed back, swallowed by the cave. Then movement. At the far end of the chamber, a figure detached itself from the shadows. At first, Daniel thought it was just another strange shape, a trick of the light. But as it moved, the outline sharpened, a towering figure armored in black stone, its eyes glowing faint white. It carried no weapon, yet its presence alone made the air heavy, as if the cave itself bent around it. Daniel's mouth went dry. He took a step back instinctively. The figure's gaze fixed on him, cold and unblinking. "You should not be here," the voice said. Not a whisper now, but deep, thunderous, echoing from every direction at once. Daniel gripped the glow stick tighter, though it felt useless in his hand. "A child is here. I heard her crying." The figure tilted its head slowly, almost curious. "The child does not belong to you. She does not belong to anyone. She is bound, and you, human, have no right to disturb this place." Daniel swallowed hard. "Bound? By who?" "By you?" The figure took a step closer. The ground trembled beneath its weight. "Turn back before the cave takes you too." But Daniel stood his ground. His voice was steady, though his heart pounded like a drum. "If a child is in danger, I won't leave her. You'll have to stop me." For a long moment, silence stretched. The guardian, if that's what it was, just stared, its glowing eyes like twin stars in the darkness. Then slowly it raised one massive hand. The air grew colder and the walls began to hum. The symbols on the stone pulsed brighter, faster, until the entire chamber glowed with alien light. Daniel shielded his eyes, gritting his teeth. "You have been warned," the voice thundered. "If you wish to seek the child, then prove your strength. Survive. Or be consumed." The ground beneath him cracked and the floor shifted, pulling him toward another tunnel that opened suddenly in the far wall. The cries of the child echoed again from within, louder this time, filled with terror. Daniel's pulse surged. He looked once at the towering guardian, then at the dark tunnel yawning open before him. He had no choice. With a final deep breath, he stepped into the passage, the glow stick trembling in his hand, and the walls of the cave closed behind him with a deafening slam. The slam of the stone wall echoed behind Daniel, sealing him inside the twisting tunnel. His glow stick trembled in his grip, throwing shaky green light across the walls. The cries of the alien child echoed faintly ahead, guiding him deeper into the darkness. But under those cries there was another sound, slow, steady, like the thrum of a giant heart beating somewhere inside the cave. Daniel's breath clouded in front of him. The air had grown colder, heavy with dampness. His boots scraped against the uneven ground, every step swallowed by the endless echo. The whispers returned, low, wordless sounds that brushed against his ears as though the walls themselves spoke. "Prove yourself," the whispers murmured. Daniel pressed forward, jaw tight. "If this is a test, then fine," he muttered. "But I'm not leaving without her." The tunnel opened suddenly into another chamber. This one was smaller but brighter, the walls alive with shifting blue symbols. At the far end stood the same towering figure, the guardian. Its eyes glowed faintly white, piercing through the dimness. "You still walk forward," the guardian rumbled, its voice deep, vibrating the very stone. "Most turn back when the cave shows them their fear. Yet you step deeper." Daniel straightened, forcing his voice steady. "I'm not most. Tell me where the child is." The guardian tilted its head, the movement slow and deliberate. "She weeps because she is bound. She is not meant to be freed. Her tears are not a call for help, they are a warning to stay away." Daniel's fists clenched. "She's a child. No one deserves chains. I don't care about your curses or warnings. If she's trapped, then she deserves to be free." The guardian's glowing eyes narrowed. For a moment, silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Then its voice came again, like thunder rolling through stone. "If you insist on walking this path, then you must face the cave's trials. You must prove your worth, human, for only one who endures may touch what lies bound here." Daniel stepped closer, his glow stick lighting the jagged floor. "What kind of trials?" The guardian lifted its massive hand. The walls shook, the symbols flared to life, and the chamber shifted. The ground split into 3 narrow paths, each leading into darkness. 3 paths, the guardian intoned. Each shows you truth. Each shows you fear. You may survive them, or they may consume you. Choose, human. Daniel stared at the paths. Each opening seemed the same. Black, endless, silent. Yet when he listened carefully, faint sounds echoed from them. From the left he heard laughter, strange, mocking. From the center he heard screams. From the right he heard silence, and that silence felt heavier than all the rest. He swallowed, gripping the glow stick tighter. He turned his eyes back to the guardian. "And if I pass?" The guardian's voice was steady, unbending. "Then you may reach her. But know this, the child carries a burden no human can bear. To free her is to share her curse. Are you prepared to pay that price?" Daniel hesitated. A curse, a burden. Words meant to scare him. Maybe true, maybe lies. But the thought of walking away, of leaving that child to cry alone in the dark, it twisted in his chest. He could not do it. "I'll pay whatever price I have to," he said firmly. "Just tell me where to go." The guardian's gaze held his for a long, heavy moment. Then slowly it nodded. "Then step forward, human. The cave will decide if you are worthy." The 3 paths shimmered with faint light, each pulsing with alien symbols. Daniel closed his eyes for a brief moment, listening. The laughter on the left sent chills through him. The screams from the center tore at his heart. But it was the silence on the right that felt most dangerous, because silence could hide anything. Taking a deep breath, Daniel stepped onto the right path. The guardian's voice followed him, low and final. "Remember, human, what you face inside is not illusion. It is you. If you fall forever." The tunnel swallowed him whole. The glow stick's light barely touched the walls, which seemed to close in tighter with every step. The silence pressed against him, thick and suffocating. His own breath was the only sound. Then, faintly, he heard footsteps behind him. Daniel spun, holding the glow stick high. Nothing. Just the black tunnel stretching back. He frowned, heart pounding, and turned again. Ahead of him, the faint outline of a figure appeared. A small one. A child. The alien girl. Her crystal-lined skin shimmered faintly in the glow, her eyes wide and wet. She stood in the center of the path, watching him silently. Daniel stepped closer, hope rising in his chest. "It's you. Don't be afraid. I'm here." But as he moved closer, the girl's eyes changed. They darkened, glowing red, and her face twisted into something monstrous. Her body stretched unnaturally tall, claws sprouting from her hands, her mouth opening in a silent scream. Daniel stumbled back, his heart slamming in his chest. His glow stick flickered wildly, shadows leaping across the walls. The guardian's voice echoed faintly through the stone, distant but clear. "Face yourself, human, or the cave will devour you." Daniel gritted his teeth, forcing his fear down. Whatever this was, illusion or truth, he could not run. He took a shaky step forward, his fists clenched, ready to face the monster the cave had shown him. Daniel's breath came heavy as the glow stick flickered in his hand. The creature in front of him, what once looked like the alien child, now twisted and stretched into a monstrous form. Its red eyes glowed like burning coals, claws scraping against the stone floor. For a moment, fear gripped his chest so tight that he almost turned back. His mind screamed, "It's not real. It's a trick. It wants you to run." But then the creature lunged. Daniel rolled to the side, his glow stick casting wild shadows across the walls. The monster hissed, its voice a terrible mix of the child's cries and a beast's growl. Daniel gritted his teeth. If this was a trial, then he would fight. "Come on!" he shouted, forcing courage into his voice. "I won't run." The monster slashed at him, claws tearing across the stone. Daniel ducked and swung his arm, the glow stick smashing against the creature's chest. To his surprise, the light burned its skin, making it scream and stumble back. That gave him hope. He pressed forward, slashing with the glow stick like a blade. Each strike left glowing marks across the creature's body, tearing its monstrous form apart piece by piece. Finally, with a roar that shook the tunnel, the creature dissolved into black smoke, vanishing into the air. Daniel fell to his knees, panting. His hands trembled, sweat dripping down his forehead. The tunnel grew quiet again, too quiet. He wanted to believe it was over, but deep inside he knew. The cave was not finished with him. The ground beneath his knees shifted. The floor cracked open and he slid downward into darkness. He hit the ground hard, rolling onto a stone floor. When he looked up, his breath caught. He was no longer in a tunnel. He was standing inside a vast maze. Towering walls of black stone stretched high above him, twisting into endless turns and corridors. The glow stick light barely touched them, and strange whispers echoed from every direction. Daniel stood slowly, his muscles tense. "A labyrinth," he muttered. "Of course." The guardian's voice drifted faintly through the air, deep and hollow. "This is the labyrinth of shadows. Every step forward shows you what you fear most. Lose yourself here, and you will never leave." Daniel gritted his teeth. "I've been through worse." He chose the nearest passage and began walking. His footsteps echoed endlessly, bouncing from wall to wall. For a while, there was only silence, broken by his breathing, but then the whispers grew louder. "Failure," they hissed. "Weak, coward, worthless." Daniel clenched his jaw. He had heard those words before. In war zones, from commanders, from enemies, even from his own thoughts on dark nights. He forced himself forward. At the next corner, he froze. Ahead of him, the passage stretched into an endless corridor. But the walls began to move. They rippled like water, forming images, memories. He saw himself standing on a battlefield, surrounded by fire. He saw the faces of those he could not save. Humans and aliens alike, reaching out with burning hands, crying for help. "Why didn't you save us?" the voices moaned. "You left us. You always leave." Daniel's chest tightened, his steps faltering. "No," he whispered. "I tried. I couldn't." The images pressed closer, the voices screaming louder, clawing at his mind. He dropped to his knees, clutching his head. For a moment, he thought the cave would break him, but then he remembered the child's cry. Soft, trembling, helpless. That one sound cut through the storm of voices. He forced his eyes open, glaring at the illusions. "I can't change the past," he growled. But I can change this. I won't leave her. With that, he surged forward, running through the illusions. His glowstick blazed brighter, burning the images away. The screams faded into silence, and the walls turned solid once more. Daniel staggered to a stop, panting but still standing. The maze twisted again, opening a new path. He followed it, his determination stronger now. But the labyrinth wasn't finished. The next turn revealed something worse. At the end of the corridor stood the alien child again. This time she wasn't crying. She was chained to the wall, her glowing veins dim, her eyes hollow. "Help me," she whispered. Daniel rushed forward. But as he drew closer, chains wrapped around his arms and legs, pulling him down. He struggled, thrashing against them, but they only grew tighter. The child's eyes lifted. But instead of hope, they burned with hatred. Her mouth twisted into a cruel smile. "You can't save me. You can't save anyone." The chains dragged him to the ground. Panic surged in his chest. But then he remembered. Illusions. Lies. The cave wanted him to give up. He roared and slammed the glow stick against the chains. They burst into sparks of light, breaking apart. The child's figure shattered like glass, leaving only darkness. Daniel stood again, chest heaving, sweat dripping from his face. He looked down at the glow stick. Its light had dimmed, flickering weakly. He didn't know how much longer it would last, but he pressed on. At last, after what felt like hours, he stumbled into the center of the labyrinth. The walls opened into a circular chamber. The floor glowed faintly with ancient symbols, and in the middle stood a stone pedestal. Upon it lay something small. A crystal shard pulsing with faint light. Daniel stepped closer, reaching out. As his fingers brushed the shard, the guardian's voice thundered again, shaking the chamber. "You have faced the shadows of your past, human. But this is only the beginning. The child lies deeper still. The curse she carries will test you beyond all else." Daniel clenched the shard in his hand, his face set with determination. "Then I'll keep going. Whatever it takes." The labyrinth walls crumbled around him, dissolving into smoke. A new passage opened before him, glowing with pale blue light. And from within he heard the child's cry once more. Fainter now, but real. He tightened his grip on the shard and stepped forward, ready for whatever waited in the depths. Daniel stepped through the glowing passage, the crystal shard pulsing faintly in his hand. The labyrinth of shadows had faded away, but its weight still clung to his chest. Every whisper, every illusion, every scream of his past failures still echoed faintly in his mind. But he forced himself forward. The new tunnel was narrow and damp, with walls that shimmered faintly as though lined with hidden energy. Strange veins of light pulsed through the stone, leading him deeper into the cave's heart. The shard in his palm responded, glowing brighter each time the child's cry echoed in the distance. She was close. He could feel it. At last, the passage opened into a wide chamber. The air inside was thick and heavy, carrying a metallic taste that clung to his tongue. At the center of the chamber, bathed in pale blue light, was the alien child. She sat on a raised stone platform, her small body bound by chains that glowed faintly with the same alien symbols Daniel had seen on the walls. Her skin shimmered with faint crystalline veins, but the light in them was dim, almost dying. Her head was bowed, and her tiny shoulders trembled as she wept softly. Daniel's heart clenched. He had faced monsters, illusions, even his own demons, but nothing struck him harder than the sight of her chained like that. He stepped forward, his voice steady but gentle. "Hey, it's me, don't cry. I found you." The child lifted her head slowly. Her eyes glowed faintly blue, wet with tears. When she saw him, her lips trembled. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered, her voice fragile. "The cave won't let you leave." Daniel shook his head firmly. "I'm not leaving without you." He reached for the chains, but the moment his hand touched them, a surge of energy ripped through him. Pain flared in every nerve, forcing him to stumble back with a cry. The chains pulsed, glowing brighter as though warning him away. The child flinched. "See, you can't break them. They're not chains. They're a curse." Daniel straightened, gripping the shard tighter. "Curse or not, there has to be a way. Why would they bind you like this?" The girl looked down, her tears dripping onto the stone. Her voice was so small Daniel had to lean closer to hear. "Because I am not like other children," she whispered. "I was born with the blood of the first ones, the ancient race that built this cave. My body carries their power. That power. It can heal worlds. Or destroy them." Daniel froze. "You? A child? That's why they chained you here?" She nodded slowly. The guardians say I'm too dangerous. They say if I leave, the curse in my veins will spread. That's why they made me cry. The cave makes my tears echo to keep people away, but you didn't turn back. Daniel's throat tightened. He looked at her small, fragile form, bound by glowing chains. A child who had done nothing wrong, punished just for being born. His anger burned hot. They call it a curse, Daniel said firmly, but I see a child who's suffering. And no child deserves to be left alone in the dark. Her eyes widened, glimmering with a spark of hope. But then she shook her head quickly. If you free me, the curse will touch you too. The guardian said anyone who breaks my chains will carry my burden. You'll die, or worse. Daniel took a slow breath, kneeling in front of her. He set the crystal shard down on the stone beside her. Its light pulsed in rhythm with the glowing veins in her skin, as if connected to her somehow. Listen, he said softly. All my life I've seen people in chains. Some metal, some made of fear. And I've learned one thing, chains can always be broken. No matter what it costs. If I have to carry your burden, I'll carry it. But I won't leave you here. Her lips trembled, tears spilling freely down her cheeks. She whispered, Why? Why would you do that for me? I'm not even human. Daniel smiled faintly, though his heart ached. Because you're a child. Because you deserve a chance to live. And because sometimes, being human means protecting someone, even if it means breaking yourself. The shard in his hand pulsed brighter, reacting to his words. The chains around the girl shimmered violently as though they recognized his resolve. Suddenly, the chamber shook. The ground trembled, and from the shadows at the far end, the guardian's massive figure emerged. Its glowing white eyes locked onto Daniel, its voice booming like thunder. You fool, it roared. She is bound for a reason. To free her is to invite destruction upon yourself and your world. Daniel stood tall, stepping in front of the girl. I don't care about your warnings. She's not a weapon. She's not a curse. She's a child. The guardian's eyes burned brighter. Then you are ready to sacrifice everything? Daniel raised the shard, its light blazing like fire in his grip. His voice was steady, unshaken. If that's what it takes, yes, the guardian roared, shaking the chamber. The chains rattled violently, glowing brighter and brighter. The child's cries turned into screams as energy surged through her body. Daniel pressed the shard against the chains, and with a flash of searing light, they cracked. The sound was like glass shattering, echoing across the cave. The child gasped, collapsing into his arms as the chains dissolved into dust. Her glowing veins flared bright, then dimmed, her body trembling in his grasp. But even as he held her, the guardian's roar filled the chamber. You have doomed yourself, human. You cannot bear what you have unleashed. Daniel tightened his arms around the child, his jaw clenched. We'll see about that. The chains shattered into dust, their glowing fragments vanishing like sparks in the air. Daniel held the trembling alien child close, her small frame weak against his chest. For a brief second, silence filled the chamber. He almost thought it was over. Almost. Then the ground shook. The guardian's roar thundered across the chamber so loud that stones rained from the ceiling. Its glowing white eyes blazed with fury, its massive body shuddering as if the cave itself fed its strength. You dare, it bellowed. You dare unbind what should never be freed. Daniel tightened his grip on the girl. She's not your prisoner anymore. But the guardian wasn't listening. Its form began to change. The black stone that made up its armor cracked, falling away in chunks. Beneath the shell, something alive stirred. Flesh, claws, scales that shimmered like molten metal. The towering figure bent forward, limbs stretching, body twisting until it no longer resembled a humanoid shape at all. The guardian was not just a guardian. It was a beast. The cave itself seemed to pulse with its awakening. Its massive head rose, jaws opening to reveal rows of jagged teeth that glowed faintly blue. The air grew heavy, every breath burning Daniel's lungs. The alien child whimpered weakly in his arms. It's awake. You freed me, so now it's awake. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Then I'll deal with it. The beast's roar shook the walls, and then it charged. Daniel dove to the side, rolling across the stone floor, clutching the girl protectively. The beast's claws slammed down where he had stood, cracking the ground into pieces. Shards of stone flew through the air, cutting his cheek. He ducked behind a fallen pillar, heart hammering. His glow stick flickered, nearly dead now, but the crystal shard in his pocket pulsed brightly, reacting to the beast's presence. Daniel pulled it out, the light blazing across the chamber. The beast flinched, snarling, its scales rippling like waves. So the shard hurts you, Daniel muttered. He looked down at the girl. Stay behind me. She shook her head weakly. You can't fight it. The beast is eternal. It's part of the cave. Maybe, Daniel said, raising the shard like a weapon. But eternal doesn't mean invincible. The beast lunged again, jaws snapping shut inches from his face. Daniel swung the shard, striking its snout. A flash of light seared across its body, making it howl and stagger back. Daniel pressed the advantage. He rushed forward, slamming the shard into its leg. The beast roared, swiping its massive claw. Daniel was thrown across the chamber, crashing into the stone wall. Pain exploded in his ribs, but he forced himself up, refusing to let go of the shard. The girl cried out, her glowing veins flickering. She reached out a hand. Stop, please stop. If you fight, it will never end. Daniel staggered toward her, blood dripping from his lip. What do you mean? Her voice shook. The beast isn't just a creature, it's the curse itself. It will fight forever until one of us breaks, Daniel's mind raced. If that was true, then brute strength alone would never defeat it. He needed something else. He looked down at the shard in his hand, then at the girl. Her glow matched its light. The truth struck him. The shard wasn't a weapon, it was a key. Then let's end this another way, Daniel said. He rushed back to the girl kneeling in front of her. Listen to me. You said your blood carries power? Maybe it's not a curse. Maybe it's the answer. If we combine your light with this shard, maybe we can seal the beast for good. She hesitated, fear in her glowing eyes. But if we try, it might kill you. Daniel gave a faint, tired smile. I've faced worse odds. The beast roared again, charging forward, its claws tearing through stone. Daniel grabbed the girl's small hand and pressed the shard into her palm. Instantly, light exploded between them, flooding the chamber. The beast screeched, its massive body writhing as the light burned into it. The cave shook violently, cracks racing across the ceiling. Daniel shouted over the roar, his voice steady despite the chaos. Focus, don't fear it, control it. That power isn't a curse, it's yours. The girl's tears streamed down her face, but she closed her eyes, clutching the shard tight. Her veins flared, glowing brighter than ever, her whole body shining like a star. The chains that had once bound her were gone, and in their place her true strength awakened. The beast lunged one final time, but the girl screamed, not in fear, but in defiance. The shard in her hand shattered, unleashing a wave of pure light that slammed into the beast. The roar of the creature turned into a howl of agony, as its body dissolved into fragments of shadow, ripped apart by the light. Piece by piece it crumbled into nothing until only silence remained. Daniel collapsed to one knee, chest heaving, his vision blurred from the brightness. The child swayed, falling against him. Her glow dimmed, but she was alive. The chamber was quiet now. The beast was gone. The curse for the moment was broken. Daniel looked down at the girl, brushing her hair back gently. See, not a curse, just a choice waiting to be made. Her small hand clutched his shirt weakly. She whispered, You stayed. No one ever stayed before. Daniel smiled faintly, though his body screamed with pain. And I'm not going anywhere now. But even as he spoke, the ground rumbled again. Not the beast this time, something deeper, older. The cave itself was stirring. Daniel tightened his hold on the child. He knew this wasn't over. The beast might be gone, but the forbidden cave had more secrets to reveal. The ground rumbled beneath Daniel's boots, dust raining from the ceiling as cracks split across the stone floor. He clutched the alien child close, her small body weak but still glowing faintly. The beast was gone, destroyed by her power. But the cave itself was not finished. The walls pulsed with light, alien symbols shifting and changing. They no longer looked like markings, but like veins in a living body. The cave wasn't just stone. It was alive. The child's eyes opened weakly. Her voice trembled. It's angry. The cave is angry because we broke the balance. Daniel scanned the chamber, his muscles tense. Then let's get out before it collapses. But as he turned toward the tunnel, the entrance sealed shut with a slam of rock. A deep voice, heavier than the Guardian's, rolled through the chamber. You freed what was never meant to be freed. You touched power that belongs to the first ones, human. Now you must face the truth. The air shimmered, and in the center of the chamber a massive figure appeared. It wasn't flesh and blood. It was light, an ancient projection. A tall alien, its body etched with glowing lines, its eyes burning like stars. Daniel stepped back, holding the girl protectively. Who are you? The figure's voice shook the ground. I am the memory of the first ones. We created this place to hold her kind, not as punishment but as protection. For her, and for the galaxy. Daniel's jaw tightened. Protection? She's a child. You chained her here and left her to cry in the dark. The figure's gaze fell on the girl. She carries our power. If she cannot control it, she will destroy everything around her. Worlds will burn. That is why she was bound. The child's tears glistened, but she lifted her chin. I don't want to hurt anyone. I never asked for this. The figure's voice softened slightly. And yet it is inside you. If you leave this cave, the curse leaves with you, unless someone shares your burden. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Shares? How? The figure raised its hand, and a beam of light revealed a pedestal behind it. Upon it lay another crystal, larger than the shard Daniel had carried. Its glow pulsed with immense energy. Touch this crystal together, the figure said. Her power will divide. Half will remain in her, half will pass into you. She will be free of the burden, but you will carry it until death. Daniel looked down at the girl. Her small hands clutched his shirt. Her glowing eyes searched his face, filled with fear. Don't do it, she whispered. It will hurt you. It will break you. He gave a faint smile. I've carried heavier things. The ground shook harder, stones crashing from above. Time was running out. Daniel carried her to the pedestal, setting her gently beside it. The crystal glowed brighter as they approached, humming like a heartbeat. He placed his hand on it. Put your hand here too, he said softly. Her small fingers trembled, but she obeyed, pressing them against the crystal beside his. Instantly, light erupted, flooding the chamber. Daniel cried out as fire surged through his veins, burning every nerve. His muscles convulsed, his vision turned white. He felt the raw power tearing into him, threatening to rip him apart. The child screamed too, her body shaking violently, but Daniel tightened his grip on her hand. Hold on, he shouted through clenched teeth. Don't let go. The light grew blinding. For endless seconds there was nothing but pain. Then slowly, the burning faded. When Daniel opened his eyes again, he was lying on the cold stone floor. The girl knelt beside him, her glow softer now, more natural. The wild energy that had once consumed her veins was gone. She looked like a child again, frightened but free. You did it, she whispered, tears running down her cheeks. You took it from me. Daniel tried to sit up, his body heavy, every muscle aching. He could feel it, the power burning quietly inside him, coiled like a beast waiting to strike. It was more than human strength should ever hold, but he smiled weakly. Better me than you. The massive figure of light spoke again, its voice fading. The burden is now shared. She may walk free, but know this, human, the power inside you will call enemies. It will draw the eyes of those who seek it. Your path will never be safe. Daniel stood slowly, holding the girl's hand. Then let them come. We'll face it together. The figure's glow dimmed, and with one final rumble it vanished. The walls of the chamber cracked open, revealing a new passage filled with daylight. Daniel squinted at the light, almost unbelieving. After endless darkness, the world outside was waiting. He lifted the girl into his arms and carried her toward it. When they stepped out of the cave, the villagers were waiting at a distance. Their eyes widened in shock. For generations, no one had entered the forbidden cave and returned. Yet here he was with the child in his arms. The girl's eyes met theirs, her glow faint but alive. Whispers rippled through the crowd, half in awe, half in fear. Daniel ignored them. He bent down, setting her gently on her feet. She looked up at him, her small hand slipping into his. You really didn't leave me? She whispered. Never, he said softly. The cave behind them groaned, then collapsed, sealing forever. Dust rose into the sky as if the earth itself exhaled. The forbidden place was gone. But its secret now lived inside Daniel. He glanced down at the child, his heart steady despite the weight burning in his chest. Whatever came next, enemies, curses, battles, it didn't matter. For the first time in her life, she wasn't alone. And for the first time in a long time, Daniel felt like he had a purpose again.